Welcome back to Kettlebells and Cocktails. I'm your host, John, back with my bestie, Nikki. Nikki, how are you?
I'm doing okay tonight. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. It's been a long day.
Mhm.
I did a podcast in the middle of the day today with Invictus Mindset.
Oh, cool. How did that go?
They were so prepared. They asked me
Oh.
so many questions. They had my entire background figured out. Like I told them after it was over, I was like, Nikki and I never prepare for this shit ever. It was
Huh.
like a master class in how to prepare for a podcast. It was like 2 hours long. They had me on my toes the whole time.
Listen, people don't tune into this because we prepare. Okay. People tune into this because we are flying by the seat of our pants 24/7. Let's be
20
real.
24/7, and I've been annoyed all day because I still have the bandage on from the tattoo. I
Look,
know,
it's
right?
real.
It
You have
is
like the clear wrap, the clear plastic
yeah,
wrap on
it's
it.
I don't know what this stuff is. It feels like Saran wrap.
It's like cellophane. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's tanner than my normal skin though, so I may just wrap my whole body in it. It's great.
Just shrink wrap yourself and like tan.
I'm gonna go to the games that way. My entire body is just gonna be Saran wrap. It's gonna be
Didn't we
fun.
talk about spray tanning you for games one year? Didn't we
Yes.
think that maybe that would be a good idea?
Yes, I need to look like a big orange. That would be
Oh,
amazing.
this
Listen, you just gotta find the right gal or guy. I guess I've never met a male spray tan technician in my life, but I am sure they exist. But you just gotta find the right one. She'll get
No.
you the right shade of healthy glow.
I don't want anyone that close to me with an air gun, like, spraying that stuff on me. I don't know. I
Listen,
no,
you
no.
get real used to it, okay? You hit this pose, you turn out one leg, you turn around, bend over a little so they get right under your butt cheeks. You get real used to it after a while. It's all
Oh,
right.
yeah, sounds like a normal little Friday for me.
Amy is horrified.
I
no,
Horrified
I
at this
I've
conversation.
I've gotten 2 or 3 spray tans before. Someone's come to my house to do it before, like, I've had something really extra. It's been, like, dead winter where I'm like, "I do not wanna be on camera looking like this."
Of course.
But, yeah, I'm other than that, I'm not a spray tan girl. I just like the sun, so I'll just go bake myself, for better or for
Same.
worse.
Same.
So
I
perfect.
have a routine. Hold on, wait. I'll tell you about my spray tan routine in a second. Do you want to actually introduce our guest, John? Sorry, I
Sure.
jumped the gun.
These are my favorite shows, mostly because I think you and I, Nikki, are both gonna learn about Amy. We have Amy Bream, who's an adaptive athlete within CrossFit Space, a really, really good adaptive athlete, I might add. Not that they're not all great. We love you all equally, but we don't. Some are better than
But we
others.
don't. I was
Yeah.
gonna say we like definitely play favorites, 1,000%.
No, no, no. They're like all athletes. Some are better than others, and Amy is top of the heap.
There you
And
go.
I've seen Amy compete, but we've never had a chance to get her on the podcast before. And last night I was going through her stories, and her dad made a really awesome dad joke, and I commented on it because I'm a dad and I love dad jokes. And I was like, "Shit, we don't have a guest for tomorrow night. Like,
Yeah.
hey, Amy, you got to come on." And she agreed to. So thank you for joining us, Amy.
of
Appreciate it.
course, and here we are.
Yes, and thank your dad for the dad joke. It was great.
Oh, that was him just I mean, that's completely normal for him. It was like not even second thought when I pulled the camera out. So gotta love him
Well, I always appreciate a dad that is willing to do that because that's me with my girls all the time, all
all
the
the
time.
time.
All right, so Nikki, give us your spray tan story.
Oh no, it's not really a story. I was just gonna agree with Amy where I'm like, I have a ritual where I'll spray tan before the CrossFit event because like the lights and the cameras and the just you gotta be look good, feel good vibes. And also we have 3 months of beautiful summer here in New England where I'm like you, I have to roast myself like a potato out in the sun. But other than that, it's like I'm this pale ghostly figure that just haunts the hallways of my home in the wintertime. So I have a ritual where it's, oh, an event's coming up. I gotta go thread my eyebrows. And a couple days later, I gotta get a bikini wax. And then a couple days later, I gotta go do my spray tan. And last night, because the internet knows me so well, last night I got an Instagram ad for, I shit you not, it is like a silk sleeping bag that you're supposed to sleep in the night that you get your spray tan so that you don't
I love it.
stain your sheets. And it's, "Is
Wow.
this you?" And it was a woman, like, folding up a sheet, and it had, like, big orange streaks, and I was like, "Yes, Instagram. Yes, it is
Yes.
me." And now also, like, I didn't buy it for what it's worth, I just make Matt bleach the sheets, but the last time that I went to semifinals, because I'm still nursing my baby, I guess he's a toddler now, whatever, and he does this thing where, like, he likes to stick his hand right in between my boobs, like it's his safe space. It's a giant pain in the ass in public, for what it's worth.
course.
One, like, the back of his hand, because I, like, spray tan, but I, like, wear a bra because I'm still nursing, I just don't wanna fuck with, like, weird orange rings on his face, but, like, he's jammed his hand, like, right in between my boobs, and so the back of his hand for a week was all dark while I was in California for semifinal. Anyway, I don't even know why we're talking
I
about
love it.
this.
I
I went
love it.
off on a tangent,
No,
sorry.
it's great. It's
Work as a
great.
silk sleeping bag if you spray tan.
Well, Amy has no excuse because actually gets 4 full seasons because she lives in the amazing city of Nashville, Tennessee.
That is very
Ooh.
true. Lots of sun out here.
I lived in Nashville for 7 years, and I love that city. It is the best, and it's
How did I
beautiful
not know
weather.
that? You lived in Nashville?
I went to you know that, I went to school there.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. You're right, that makes sense.
Yes, and Nashville's gorgeous, like, just beautiful city full of beautiful people, like, it's just a great city. And
Great.
then so you gotta take advantage of your seasons because Nikki and I don't get those. I get winter full time, that's
Mm.
it, and 2 weeks of summer, and kinda Nikki does too, kinda.
We just get extremes in New England. We just get extreme winter, extreme summer, extreme
Mhm.
whatever, and lots of mud.
That's I mean, Nashville definitely has all 4 seasons. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and we definitely had more of all 4 seasons then. But Nashville, it's like the one thing I will say, I love the city. I love honestly, since moving here, I love the summer and the heat. I prefer that to winter any day. But the winters here suck. And anyone that tells you otherwise has not actually lived in like the Northeast because it's just cold and wet.
Mm,
So like anytime it's like snows and like people lose their shit because the city's not prepared for it and it's like an inch to the ground and all the schools are closed. But like the majority of the winter is not pretty snow or it's not like dry cold either. It's just like wet rain and like 30 degrees. It's
mm-mm.
all
I
so
hate that.
that's the only thing that I'll say. Don't let people trick you into thinking like the winters here are like they're actually the worst. But
Yeah,
everything else about it's great.
they are gross. I remember I lived there for a very short while when I was married, so this was a long time ago,
Mhm,
and my ex-wife, who was my wife, obviously, at the time, was
mhm.
is from Cleveland, so she's used to a lot of snow, and we got it was a
Yeah.
light dusting, right? And she's getting dressed, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm getting ready for work." I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "Because I gotta go to work today." I'm like, "No, you don't. It's snowing outside." She's, "Yeah, it's like barely snowing." I'm like, "You don't understand. Like nobody's going to work. You maybe want to go to the grocery store and buy bread and milk, but otherwise you're going to be here for a while." And sure enough, they called her off work. No one was going anywhere. Nobody could drive. It's so typical South.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Very, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah, very typical. Well, so Nikki, I'm kinda introducing you guys,
I
I
know.
guess,
I
'cause you
love this.
yeah, yeah. So I guess my first chance, like, really being around you, Amy, would have been at Willwad in December. She was competing at the Willwad Games and destroyed it, and it was a really interesting event. I know I've talked about it in the past, but it's really interesting when you get to see an event like that up close and see everyone kinda dealing with their own adaptations and their own impairments, and really trying to determine, like, all right, like, who are the real athletes here? And again, no offense to
Mm.
all the athletes, but some are far more advanced than others. And Amy, you're one of the real athletes.
Thank you.
Like real, like I was like one of the ones where I'm watching her do burpees going, holy shit. Like you have one of those moments of she's not fast for adaptive. She's just fast. She's just fast.
I really like burpees. They're
What?
probably my top 3 movements. Yeah.
No.
I love them.
Well,
Yeah.
it was
Burpees and workout, I'm good.
Hmm.
well, you had this moment for me though as I was watching you as an athlete. You're out there doing burpees, and at some point you got frustrated and you threw the prosthetic off. It was
Get
almost like
out.
she just screw it. She just drops it and then starts doing them without them, and got and actually got faster. And
Yeah. Well, burpees without a leg, it's whenever I go into a workout, it's a lot of deciding, is it better with the leg on or off? Because obviously, like, whenever you can, I wanna use the prosthesis. That's what you call a fake leg. Sorry if you hear something in the background, my dog is here just panting and drinking water like
that's normal for our show. That's
Yeah,
very normal.
totally.
Right.
Usually it's like my dog's in the background panting and it just all of a sudden sounds like a really inappropriate show.
Yeah, or
Okay.
Yeah.
or Bean meowing. He's at my feet right now. So.
Also
Yeah,
that.
there's food nearby, so he, like, will not leave
Yep.
my side. He thinks he's gonna get some. But anyway, yeah, so going into it, if it's a couple burpees, it's actually a lot better for me to do it without the leg because I can go faster because the leg doesn't help on a burpee. It's just dead weight. It's more like a balance thing to stand up on and give it for a split second break. But if there's a ton of them, then obviously like I want as much support I can get. But I remember that point in the workout and I was like, screw this. It's like, just get it done. So yeah, definitely took the leg off for that.
Well, it was just a really interesting moment for me to see not only how much faster you were than everybody else and how much faster you are than me, but when you were done and you had beaten the field, you then stayed out on the floor and congratulated everyone as they came in and as they finished. And I thought to myself then, we got to get Amy on the show, like because you really were spectacular. So welcome to the show. That's the introduction, I guess.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to meet you. I love meeting sort of like internet friends, quote unquote, more in real life or at least in the podcast setting because I feel like I get the internet, like I get your Instagram persona and you are like so fun and so funny and so like fresh. I love that like your Instagram bio is basically I was born without a leg and I'm going to laugh about it or I make too many jokes about it or whatever.
Mhm.
And I really want to take this opportunity to dig a little bit deeper into how you got to where you are today because I find it fascinating to sort of like learn about not only your personal background, but also your athletic background and how you flourished into, especially an adaptive CrossFit athlete on the
Yeah.
elitist level. Because to me, that part, well, our sport in general is pretty young, but especially that part of our sport is still growing. So start from the very beginning, if you will, Amy. Kind of like tell us your story of growing with your adaptation and how you got into sport.
Well, on March 20th, 1992.
It was a snowy day in Philadelphia.
Yeah, right. No, so I was born I'm a little unique. I have never had an amputation. I was born with a condition called PFFD, so born without a leg. At the time, like ultrasounds and stuff didn't pick that up, so my parents actually didn't know until I was born. They're like, "Well, there it is." My dad also thought I was going to be a boy, so it was like, "Well, we got a girl and she's also missing a leg." So
Wait, wait, wait,
well,
wait,
we're
wait.
over
They,
to a
were- they
different
were
day.
sure they were ultrasounds in the early 90s. So like how did they
That
they
somehow it didn't pick it up. Like, they had no idea that something was gonna be like that malformed. Yeah.
Yeah, but how did they think you were a boy? That one's pretty
Oh, no, that was just my dad's wishful thinking. For
God's sake.
yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah, that was my dad just being like, because I'm the youngest of 4, and there's 2 boys or I'm sorry, 2 girls, a boy, and then me, and so my dad perfect, 2-2, but he was
Yeah.
outnumbered.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I grew up, like, always using a prosthesis. My family was always really encouraging, supportive, but I actually grew up in the music world. Like, I'm very new to athletics in general. I can probably count on one hand the amount of, like, group athletic classes that I took up until 2015. Yeah, like, new. Like, I literally would tell people I'm, like, one of the least athletic people you'll ever meet, and I grew up in a small town where it's, like, you have gym class where you have your usual sports, and, like, I was, like, I'm very self-conscious at that age, and I just didn't really wanna put myself out there very much with it, and I've always been somewhat strong just because you have to, like, compensate so much for missing a leg, so if I wanna stand up and my leg is tired, 1, I'm either gonna do a pistol squat or I'm gonna pull myself up, so I've always had a relatively strong upper body because in order to move, it takes, like, for an AK, which is above the knee prosthesis, so they call it takes an average of 60 to 80% more energy to take a step. So it's if you're gonna move, you're gonna be, like, somewhat adept. But sports was not it for me, and so I moved to Nashville in 2014 after I graduated college for a degree in music, and then a year into it, my friend told me about this boxing gym, and I was like, "Well, boxing, like, I'll hit shit." Like, it was just this really
Yeah.
I don't even know what made me do it. Because again, at that point, anytime I went to the gym, I had no clue what I was doing. I, like, worked out because I a little bit, like, I mean, 15 minutes at a time kinda thing, having no clue what it was, just, "I need to work out," whatever, but I hated it. And then I joined the boxing gym, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually really fun, this is a great workout," and it was the first time that I was, like, just focused on, like, hitting a bag and not really I was self-conscious, but I wasn't as self-conscious as I thought I would be in a public setting.
Mhm.
So, yeah, just started there and I did that for a few years and I really liked the workout and like the trainers were okay telling me I could do better because that's my like I'm a perfectionist. So thank you for telling me that I'm like a great athlete, adaptive or not, because that's my thing. If I don't want to be like, oh, she's good for having one leg. Like, no, I
Mhm.
want to be like end of sentence. I want to be good. So the trainers at that gym are really good about being like, hey, you can still get your like form better. You can still get technique better. Let's go. So I started working one on one with a trainer and learned how to kickbox. And that was like a really big thing for me because I'd made jokes about it. And I was like, I can't balance on my prosthesis like that, like whatever. But he said, no, it's not that you can't do it. It's like you've never done it before. And he's like,
Mm.
of course you're going to be bad at it when you start. I think that was like, it's such a simple concept. But up until that point, I was like, oh, I am going to be bad at it. And that's okay. So I
Mm.
think, like, in my mind, I was like, I'm unathletic all my life because I was bad at it at first. It's because I pick up a baseball 2 times a year. Like, it was like, yeah, you're gonna suck at it because you're not
Mhm.
practicing it. And it was like getting over my fear of, I don't think I'm actually bad at these things. I think I'm just not practicing them. And I'm
Yeah.
not okay. Like, I'm just self-conscious. So
And good for that trainer for saying that to you too, because I feel like
Mhm.
sometimes, myself included, when I'm coaching adaptive athletes, if you were to look at me and be like, I can't balance on my prosthesis like that, there's a part of me that's, oh, okay, I'm sorry. You
Yeah.
obviously know way better than I do. Like, it good for that trainer for being like, bullshit.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad you said that because that's something too. In sharing my story, I like want to advocate for that because to both trainers and to adaptive athletes, because adaptive athletes like think they can't do shit and they can. It's
Mm.
just like a non-adaptive people can be pushed. Like you're allowed to be pushed too. You signed up for it. Like you're not forced into the gym. Be pushed. See what you can do. And so, yeah, that just started a journey because I was like, all right, well, if I always said I couldn't do that and I did it, what else have I been saying no to? So I started trying a bunch of things like skiing and rock climbing and just a bunch of stuff. And then was sharing it on Instagram. It kind of created that like accountability where it's like, I'm telling people they shouldn't be scared to try it. So like I should try it.
Mm.
And so then I picked up, I'd never waitlisted. I picked up my first barbell in 2019. And
Oh,
that
get
I was like,
out.
no, and I was like new. When I say that, it's what's a bench press. Like that was where I was coming from. I had no background in barbells or anything, or functional fitness really. So yeah, I did that. And then in 2020, of course, like gyms, everything shut down. And I was working out with the only people I saw were like my two bosses, and they're both males. And I was like, hey, I'm seeing you guys. I have to work out for my like sanity, like, you have to let me work out with you. So they're like very private about their workout space. And they're like, fine, deal, but you have to like, don't complain. Just do what we tell you to do and just shut up about it. I was like, all right. So it was like, took away this, like, I didn't have any females to compare weight to. So they would just put weight on a barbell and I had nothing like female slash adaptive, whatever. They're just like, you can lift that. And I was like, okay. So I just would do it. And it was like the first time that it was like, it wasn't CrossFit by any means, but it was like weights on a timer. So it was like
Hmm.
a little bit of strength and conditioning combined. And I started that. And then Adaptive Divisions CrossFit released it in 2021. And there was an adaptive athlete on Instagram, Derek Wida, who was also at Wheelwad.
I'm a
Badass.
huge fan of him.
Yeah.
Huge. I've been a
So
huge fan of him since way before, back when he was still shitting on CrossFit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's been on a journey, let me tell you.
Yes, he is always he owns who he is. He's always been outspoken, but like he's Derek. Like he yeah, I love it. So and he actually reached out to me and we had followed each other, but it wasn't like I didn't know him at all. And he was just like, hey, CrossFit has this adaptive division. You should give it a go. Sign up for the open. I was like, what's an open? And
Yeah.
literally and he was like, oh, and I said, I mean, you can I saved the message because it was just like a memory for me. And I was like, CrossFit people are great. Like, I can't do that. Y'all are crazy. There's no way. And he's, I got 3 months to train. It was January. I'd actually
Mm.
just gotten over COVID. And he was like, yeah, what's the worst thing that can happen? Just give it a go. So yeah, I was like, I should try this. I tell people to try new things. So signed up for the open, paid $20. Didn't even know what that meant. I thought we were going somewhere. Didn't even know it was like your home gym. Like I was new. And just started learning, and then, of course, it being the first year of having adaptive divisions, there was, like, a lot of opportunity there, and I ended up going to the games that year, like, 8 months later, so, yeah, it was pretty
Were you
crazy.
like,
Yep.
what in the ever loving fuck did I sign up for? Like, now
Oh,
I'm traveling, now I'm going to a game. What does that
yeah,
mean? Who are all of you people? What
yeah,
was that year like for you?
yeah, oh, you wanna talk about imposter syndrome. I was,
Yeah.
like, learning shit. I mean, I had never done a kick. I could do a strict pull-up. I had never done a snatch. Like, everything, like, so many things were new. I had, like, strength, but I didn't have efficiency, and that's all CrossFit is, like, strategy and efficiency.
Mm.
So it's just like learning like handstand stuff and like all of it. It was like, holy crap. But I kind of like that because I was so new. Like I didn't have anything to expect. I was like, I mean, to the point, it's embarrassing to say now, like now I know her, but like people are like, you gotta say hi to Tia. I'm like, who's
Who?
Tia? Like
I
I
Right.
love that.
didn't know anything. So yeah, and there was a lot of questions if they were even going to have adapted divisions go to the games after we
Right.
qualified because it's a complicated thing. There's every adaptation is different. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So I found out 6 weeks before that I was going. Like they had said we weren't going, and then I got an email, and they're like, "Just kidding." And I was like, "Okay." Um,
You crazy people, I'll be
yeah.
there.
And I hadn't swam since high school. Like I dropped my butt in a pool and said, "What how do I do this?" It was like it was crazy. So that year, yeah, I went and it was like probably one of the most like challenging weeks of my life because it was like, let's do this in front of a very public stage. I'm like, just give it a go. And it's not like you can grab a microphone before you go on and be like, hey guys, 8 months in, like,
Right, right,
yeah,
right, right, right.
can't explain that to people. So it was definitely like a very emotional week. But I had a moment from that games that, like, got posted and it went like, a lot of people saw it, and then it literally changed my life. I thought I was gonna go, come back, whatever, and that video went a lot of places, and then I got offered some sponsorships, and I was like, "This is actually a thing now." So, been doing it ever since.
You're in, girl. You in this world. Whether you didn't
I'm
think you were
here.
good, we need you. Like we have decided.
So, yeah, so we're having fun. We've come a long way since then, I'll say
Her
that.
her sto her story reminds me of Carrie Pierce. It's kinda the same
Totally.
thing. You don't train you find something, you do it for 3 months, and all of a sudden you're like, "I'm going to what? Where? What did I
Yes.
get invited to?" And then all of a sudden you're one of the world's best.
Right.
So,
Yeah. It's
pretty crazy.
bananas. And also, I know that that was 2, 3 years ago at this point, all of that, but because we've all lived in the weirdest time warp ever since the pandemic,
Mhm.
it feels 5 minutes ago. Like, it
Yeah.
feels 5 minutes ago you were barely leaving your house except to see your bosses and lift whatever weight they put on the barbell. Like, I don't understand how you've come from that to this in this insane short amount of time. It is so cool. I
Thanks.
love it. And like just so on brand as far as your mission of being like, you can do it. You can
Mhm.
do the thing. Try the thing. You can do the thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, that honestly, that's why I started. I had a conversation with my friends when I took a weekend to decide if I was gonna sign up for it, and I told her, I was like, I'm thinking about it enough that I think I'm gonna be disappointed in myself if I don't try, but I'm just
Hmm.
scared of looking like an idiot. And she was like, "You tell like, your entire Instagram platform is, like, saying, 'Don't be afraid of trying.' Now you need to live out what you say."
Hmm.
So that's what we did.
what I think is really interesting about that though, Amy, and what really attracts me to your Instagram page and just your journey in general is that you do that, what you just said, which is don't be afraid of trying, but you're also very vulnerable.
Mhm.
Like, you often talk about insecurities and things that scare you and things you're worried about, and, like, I read some of your blog posts, some of about dating as an example, and I think those are things that really resonate with people and encourage them to try new things. Is this just how you're wired? Like, you just do you feel the need to share those things to help others, or do you just do it like, I do that to get it out of myself? Or are you
Yeah.
doing it like, why are you doing it?
I think it's a combo. I think one, I've always couple things. One, I'm always really careful. Like I have a very small group of people that are like my people. And if I'm still processing something, I go to them and then they'll be like, you're being an idiot or great, you're doing great, I'm great, whatever. So like when I say stuff on the internet, it's like I'm not putting out vulnerable. Yes, it's vulnerable, it's real, but it's however people react to this, I'm okay with it because I'm like settled and where I'm at. So it's I'm trying not to, of course I'm not perfect, but I'm like I'm trying not to ever post something in order to get a specific reaction from someone to like gratification or validation, anything like that. So I think it's a little bit easier because I'm like, oh, I'm posting my real thoughts and you can take it or leave it, but like it is what it is. That's how it is. But also I think it's been so wonderful for me to realize like I think 95% of the world's problems are like we all come up with stories in our head about each other and then live like the reality and they're not. And it's like we look at everyone else and are like, hey, like they're mean or they're XYZ or they always have their shit together. And it's just not true. Like we all experience the same emotions, whether we like each other or not. And I think the more that we can all be on that same page, the better. So I mean, honestly, like when I was going to the games, I was really frustrated because obviously, like now being more in the sport, I understand it way more, like coming from a more professional standpoint. But it's like everyone's posts are just like these videos of them looking jacked and being like, so pumped. And no one's scared. No one's going to say
Right.
a word about being fucking nervous. Like,
Mhm.
I had to mute everything because I was like, I was so intimidated. I was like, none of these people are scared. And then I met them all and they're like, we're terrified.
Oh,
And I was like,
terrified. All of them.
I'm like,
24/7.
why did you say that? Like, I'm like,
Uh-huh.
you can still compete against each other and be honest. It's not going to change who you are as an athlete. Just be real. And
Yeah.
again, like now
Yep.
being into it, I do understand because you're not trying to show like certain weaknesses. And I get it, but I'm like, heck, I don't care. I'll just it's encouraging for me to hear when someone else is feels the same emotions that I do.
Yeah, for
I
Because,
sure.
oh,
I
we're
heard
all figuring it out together.
I heard a story once of Frazier puking in the bushes before an event, and that meant more to me than listening to these athletes talking about snatching 300 pounds in warm up. You know what I mean? Here's a guy that you know is going to win the games. He's
Yeah.
going to win, and he's nervous as hell
Yeah.
out
Yeah,
there puking in the bushes, worried about what's about to happen to him.
of course.
That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
that's the stuff I want to see. I mean, I don't want to
yeah.
see him puke, but I want
Yeah.
that. I want the honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too, like, that's part of why I love this format that we have because every athlete in real life, when you talk to them on the podcast, when I get to do like post event interviews, like they are all real and they are
Yeah.
all vulnerable and they all will say, man, I
Yeah.
was terrified. I didn't know how this was going to go. I've been really nervous about this event since whatever happened to me, or this one didn't go well in training. So I didn't know whatever. Like, I feel like sometimes the online persona is not even as much to not show weakness as it is like you get to be your own hype person
Yeah.
on your
Yeah.
Instagram page. So you get to be like, look at this badass photo of me. And they
Yeah.
are like, even you, when you're nervous, you're still like, pumped to go. There's
Yeah.
so much hype about the thing, and you get to go to the thing, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And your kit came, you got new fucking
Yeah.
shoes on. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, it's all like, cool and exciting and rad, and I don't necessarily think as much it's like people being like well, some of them do. Some of them
Yeah.
very strategically are like, "I am only posting my PRs and whatever."
Yeah.
And then some of them also are, like, incredibly vulnerable, like, Annie has been an open book about her life and her journey and her body and whatever, so there are some people who are like that, but I just feel like it's I don't know, it's like an oversight. It's like people don't
Yeah.
rush to their own Instagram pages to post their emotions. They just rush there to post like
Yeah.
the coolest, latest photo they've got. Can't really blame them for that. But professional photographers following me around
Yeah.
24/7, and I looked yoked,
Yo,
yoked.
yoked.
Side story I will tell in a minute, but I would do the same. But I do feel like there's a full on like other side of all that, which is what you're doing, Amy, which is I am badass and I am yoked, but I'm
Yeah.
also going to tell you what's happening in my mind right now. And that piece is sometimes
Yeah.
really missing.
Yeah, and I will like I think you're right because again, I think what I one of the things I love CrossFit is when you meet people in person, it is one of the most genuine like spaces
100%.
that I've come across. Like I don't think I've met any CrossFitter across the board of elite status and been like, ugh. Everyone has honestly been great when I've met them. Like my experience with them has been great. But I think for me too, I just come from a different perspective because I didn't grow up an athlete. So it's I well, remember, like, my Instagram grew very quickly. Like, I had had it for a while, and it was like I had, think of like 20,000 followers, something like that when I went to the games. And when I posted that video, I gained like the majority of my followers in a week.
Ooh,
And so it was like, so I posted a video and then I was driving home with my coach and I like opened my phone randomly 10 minutes later. And it was like, I was like, these numbers are not normal. Something weird is happening with this video I just posted. And I said to him on that drive before, I mean, like shit got crazy after that. And I had no clue what was coming. But even on that ride, I was like, my biggest fear is that like people, like a middle school girl, especially someone like missing a leg, is going to look at my profile and think I'm unrelatable. And that's just my personal because I didn't have any adaptive athletes to talk to growing up. The first person I met with a missing leg with a birth defect like mine, I was 24 years old. And I
oh
asked her
shit.
like, "Do you date?" Like I was like just straight up. And she would like it was the first conversation that I had that someone could have, 'cause someone could actually, it wasn't a two-legged person telling me how to walk. It was like, "Well, you know, when you walk and you're chair and, like, you think that this is gonna happen, but the leg does this." And I was like, "Yes." And no one's been able to describe what goes on in my head, like, ever. And just, yeah, do this instead. And it was just, like, the smallest thing that I was like, "Oh my god, someone gets it." And, like, that for me was such a poignant moment that I was like, I always want to come from the point of, "Hey, yeah, cool. Whatever I do, whatever in whatever space, that's great, but I'm not the only one that's capable of doing this." Like,
Mhm.
I was not athletic. I, like, did things to become much more athletic, but it was like, you can do this too if that's what your goal is, but you have to, like, these are the steps that you have to take. So just like my forefront in my mind tends to be like, I want to be relatable. I want people to get that I'm not this like special unicorn. That's, hey, this is like just life. This is how we do life. So
No shit. See, that's why representation is so important, is because it sucks that you didn't have that growing up. It sucks that you didn't have that until 24. It sucks that you didn't have any sort of semblance of, oh, look, someone like me doing the things that I struggle with on a daily
yeah.
basis. I have a question.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Yeah, and I will say some of that was me because I was really stubborn. I wanted to hide, I wanted to be normal, and I was kind of embarrassed about my leg or making it a thing. So just like, well, let's just not talk about it and we'll just figure it out. So my parents tried to put me in like physical therapy and in like support groups, and I didn't want to go. And also, there's, especially when I was younger, it's much better now, but it's hard to find like marketing that's like a cross between, there's the Paralympians and then there's the geriatric worlds, and there's no in between. It's like, wow,
Mhm.
Right.
just routine living life. So I think that's one of these reasons. I mean, the adaptive divisions, honestly, even within CrossFit and the games, like, it's been really messy, but I still will give all the kudos to CrossFit for being willing to take on the mess and hopefully keep plowing through it because, like, as someone who didn't have someone to look up to or talk to growing up, like, the only way to make that better is to show it and to walk through the mess.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, the mess aside, I think the things that you're covering, Amy, are very relevant to people with and without impairments. Like, I often read your stuff. You'll talk about body image issues because of your impairment, and I relate it to my own body image issues.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any impairments other than I'm bald and old. Those are which for the record are pretty big impairments for whatever that's worth.
Mm.
But I
Do
often
you
have the
need
same
John? I
fears.
mean, with all those impairments, just wondering,
It's tough,
is it
Nikki.
hard?
It's really hard. It's the biggest impairment being a 52-year-old meme lord. That's the hardest of all.
That's the one, huh?
That's the one, and being yoked, as you would say.
Yoked. Okay, sorry, wait, side story. So John sent me a picture of his new tattoo, which
Mhm.
looks badass, and John is totally ripped. And I was like, "Damn, dude, you look yoked." And I straight this is like third time recently this has happened to me.
Yolked, yoked,
Right. And I
yoked.
wrote it, you guys, I think I might be going senile. I wrote it on purpose, being like, "That's how you spell that, right?" I Can I tell you something? Like, that I have a pretty solid command of the English language. Like, communication is my full-time job. I win every fight against my husband. Like, I'm pretty fucking good at this, at words and wordsmithing. And I'm the copywriter at work, like
Yeah.
finding spelling errors, grammar errors, like all that stuff. I wrote that shit on purpose. And then I looked at it and I was like, wait, wait a minute. And then I was like, it's not you're not jacked because you eat so many egg yolks, right? That's not it. And then I was like, it's the yolk, like the crossbar yolk, right? That's the and then I was like, I had this moment where I was like, I'm fucking dumb.
I just sent her back an egg emoji. That's all I could do. I was just like, I'm just gonna send her an egg emoji,
Yeah.
and then I
Oh,
photoshopped an egg on my arm. That was good too.
this is
That's
like
the way to go.
you guys, it's like the third time in the last 2 months that this shit has happened to me. Where
Yeah.
I like and I you know what I blame? I blame English being my second language. That is what I blame. Where there was just like there were words growing up, like we were at the hardware store and I saw a sign on the wheelbarrow. Wheel and I looked at Matt and I was like,
Wheelbarrow.
And he was like, "You did not think it was wheelbarrow, did you?" And I was like, "No, I'm 34."
That's
Well,
okay. That is a weird word. Wait, what's your first language?
Russian. Yeah,
Mic drop. Okay.
right, yeah. My family moved here from Ukraine when I was not yet born, but didn't speak much English as
yeah,
I was growing up.
don't let Nikki lead you believe she's got this huge command on the English language because she doesn't. I was just telling
Decent.
somebody this
I'm
story the other
decent.
day that
Oh.
Nikki cusses a lot,
Oh,
and I
yes, that's
I
fact.
I told her once at the top of the show, I'm like, "Listen, Nikki, my mom's gonna be watching the show, so don't try not to cuss tonight.
Okay.
Just rein it in." She's okay. We're like 60 seconds into the show, and she's, "God damn it." And I'm like, "Nikki, like, what are you doing?" And she's, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "I told you not to cuss." And she's, "I didn't." And I'm like, "Yes, you did. You not only did you cuss, but you used the
Pick
biggest
the
one of
one.
all, like the biggest one." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" She just couldn't understand it at all.
Didn't make sense to me. That's not a cuss. A cuss is a swear word. Okay. I didn't open the show with I didn't
Yeah.
sing it. Okay.
Oh,
I don't blame that on not having a command on the English language. I blame that on being a big Jew. And I
mm,
don't know. Okay. To
man.
me, that's not a like a slur.
Yeah.
Nikki dropping the C word on the show. I'm gonna have to go edit.
Going there. We're going there.
Sorry.
Man,
I was just trying to make a point. I just opened the show being like,
made it.
nah,
You made it.
Point made.
right? Isn't that not as bad? I didn't know. I didn't know. Oh, I didn't know. Now I
Yeah.
know. Now, if we ever have anyone who finds it offensive, I don't swear on those
Mhm.
shows.
Well,
I'm happy to be respectful for our guests.
yeah, if they find any of this offensive, I'm going to put a little blurb in the middle of this episode that you're about to hear some really foul language. So if you have kids listening, please scroll forward.
No
Should we
way.
maybe start every episode with that?
I think people understand at this point.
Oh, okay, good. Sometimes people complain still
No,
and
they
they'll
don't.
message. Oh, they don't?
Not anymore. They're used to
Oh,
you
okay.
now,
Oh,
and
good.
it's all you. They're used to you.
Well, I am 50% of the show, so I should hope so.
Yeah,
But
they know.
anyway,
They know what's up. They absolutely know what's up.
I
Mhm.
digress. But that's so that I did in fact tell John that he looked yoked. And I think we
Yoked.
should change it to that from now on.
Well, also kudos to being yoked.
Mm,
I
my
mean,
my next tattoo is going to be an egg. I'll put it on the opposite arm. It's gonna
yeah.
be awesome.
Was this your first tattoo?
What's that?
Was this your first tattoo?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
First one. I was there for 4.5 hours. It was forever.
Oh, you went for it.
Yeah, oh yeah, I went all in. Well, I've been waiting my whole life to get one, so I was gonna get one I really wanted, and it's big, and it took forever. But
And it's not done, right? Like, but you
no,
still
like,
have to go back for shading.
yeah, I still got to go back for shading. It was long. It was funny. I got the speech. You guys both have tattoos. I know Nikki does. You
Mhm.
have them, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I get the speech. I knew the artist. I've known the guy for years. He used to be my run coach. He has the best name ever for a run coach, by the way. His name is Speed.
No.
That's his actual name.
No.
Ryan Speed. His name is Ryan Speed, and he goes by Speed, and he's a runner, and it's the best run coach name ever. He's a great run
Dang.
coach, but he's a terrific tattoo artist. And I've known him forever, and I've seen his work on dozens of people. And so when I decided to get one, I decided to go to him. And I haven't seen him in a couple of years, so we were really like catching up with life and what's going on. But he sits me down and he's like, he gives me the speech. He's like, all right, he's like, some of this is going to hurt. Some of it won't. Some people it doesn't bother. Some people have a come to Jesus moment. I don't know
Mhm.
what it's going to be like for you, but you just got to deal with it. I'm like, all right, it's fine. I think I have a high threshold for pain. I do CrossFit. Like I deal with a lot of pain in the sport. So I'm like, let's go for it. And so he starts the lines and doesn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
Fine. Totally fine. I'm like, no, this is cool. It feels like a massage gun, like one of those little Theraguns, just going really fast and scraping my skin. But when he got the back of the arm, I'm like, okay,
Mm.
there's the spot. You found it. You
Mhm.
absolutely found it. But but it was fine. I was just there a long time.
Yeah.
And you have weird body reactions. Like I immediately started sweating,
Oh, yeah.
like really hard. And then it went away. But my body was like, what's going on? What are you doing to me permanently forever?
Yeah.
So
My very first tattoo I got on my wrist over a scar, and it was really small, but I didn't realize that the wrist was one of the more sensitive areas.
Yeah.
So I'm like a pansy, like when it came to that. So I was like, how much is it gonna hurt? And they're like, like a cat scratch. It's nothing. And then he started, and I was like, this is a feral cat. I
Right.
don't know what just happened. And thankfully, I mean, it was really tiny, but I was like, I don't know what kind of cats you got in your house, but this ain't it.
It's a tiger.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
yeah, but other spots, I got one on my shoulder and stuff, and that was much better than the rest for sure.
I
Yeah.
will tell you the best thing that came out of it, and you'll love this, Nikki. So I get home, I'm done. It's all bandaged up, but I'm wearing a tank top so you can see it. I walk in the door, and my daughter, who's here tonight, she's upstairs, so she may hear me telling this story, was here with her boyfriend.
Mhm.
And her boyfriend has a knack, a real knack for asking me dumb questions. And it
Mhm.
and as a dad, I'm required to torture this kid. I have to. Like, he's a nice dude, I like him. But he looks me dead in the eye and he's like, "Did you pick that out?" And, without even blinking, I'm like, "No, I just told the artist, 'Hey, pick whatever you want, it's forever. Just go
Yeah.
ahead. Whatever you wanna put on there, it's fine.'" And then the poor kid just starts stammering, and I felt a
Yeah.
little bad, but it's my job. As a dad, that's my job.
Well, that's her.
Did he mean did it exist and you chose it, or did you design it? Did he
No,
mean the
I don't know.
configuration?
I don't know what he meant. I think
Oh.
he I th based on the last question he asked me, which was when he was in this guitar room and you can see all the guitars that are behind me, he was like, "Do you play guitar?" And I'm like, "No,
No.
no, not at all."
No.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to torture the boy dating your daughter, that's the rule.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1,000. He deserved that one.
Yeah.
That
100%.
that is the rule. Hey, speaking of, I loved your blog. I read your whole blog today, by the way.
Oh,
I read a lot of it, and I love
Preparation.
it
yeah,
was.
sure.
Come on the show and say we don't prepare for this
Well,
podcast, and you
you went
read
through
all
that
her blog
2-hour
posts.
part you went
I
through the 2-hour podcast and was like, "Shit."
I don't yeah, yeah,
Set my
that's what
game up
happened. That's
because
exactly
out
what
here dropping
happened.
the C word, I gotta prepare for this interview.
Yes, I was
I'm
on somebody
bored.
else's show and they prepared and I'm like, "Shit, I better read something." So I read your blog on dating in Nashville and how beautiful the Nashville people are, and I really liked it. It was good. You need to write a lot because your writing is really good.
Thank you. I actually that is, like, on the bucket list. So I actually
Ooh.
just took a so I've been so full circle, I joined that boxing gym, did all those things. I actually started working there, and I've been the operations director there for the last 5 years. So we have 3 locations, and that's all great, but I actually just took a step back from that job because I've been juggling multiple fit and other things and all of that good stuff. So I just took a step back from that, and I'm, like, looking to the future, like, I wanna write a book and do more writing and speaking and things like that. So it's on the bucket list.
That's cool.
Well, I
And,
loved it. It's such a relevant topic for people. I think everyone struggles with dating, and CrossFit's hard because it's full of gorgeous people. That was always my struggle. It's like you just look around, and all the dudes are running with their shirts off and they're shredded, and I'm just like, why would anybody like me when all these dudes are running
Mm.
around here? And I read your blog, and I'm like, this is really a lot of people are going to read this and see themselves in you. You know,
thank you. Yeah, it just I mean, I still have to tell myself all those things, but yeah, confidence is where it's at. It's like the way that you carry yourself is like over half the battle. So,
So give us the cliff notes. Where are you at in the dating world, and what are the struggles that you wrote about in this blog?
oh, well, I think it's been a little while since I wrote that blog, but I think, well, I'm single. I'm so dating. Sure, I don't have a lot of time right now, but I'll go on a date.
There you go.
We're
You
slide
heard
it,
trying.
it here first.
slide into those DMs, boys. You can see the
Oh,
name on the screen. It's great.
okay, but I will side note on that though. Instagram, of course, Instagram. The amount, yeah, not to be mean, but what I'll have people just say ridiculous messages, and sometimes I know they're trying to be funny and it's whatever. But like those, I've gotten like actual marriage proposals before, like some jokes and some not, or
Mm-mm.
like I'm sure they're not like actually thinking it's gonna turn into anything, but I'm like, then I like sometimes I click on their profile and they're private. And I'm like, in what world do you think in 2023 a single girl is going to respond to your let me take you out for dinner with having a private I can't see anything but like a tiny ass photo of your head and be
Mm-mm.
like, yes, sir, let me set up a date, stranger. And this is how Dateline came to be it.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
It ever works? Like in my mind, those dudes are sending like 30 of those messages
oh
an
yeah.
hour. And I'm like, has it
all right.
ever worked
Yes.
though?
Yes. I'm honestly
No.
let me give you this little clip story and then we're gonna jump back to her story. So I used to play in a band when I was in high school with this kid who was very average looking,
Okay.
very average. Maybe it's a bass player, but he had great confidence
Okay.
and he always dated the hottest girls. And so one day I'm finally like, his name was Jason. I'm like, Jason, what the hell, bro? Like, how are you pulling these hot girls? Because no offense, you're very average. He literally says to me, I ask out every girl I meet. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, 100% of the women I talk to, I ask out. He's like, now I have a low percentage of them saying yes, but if you ask them all out, you'll always get the hottest ones. I'm like, that's brilliant.
Okay,
The
so
math of that is just brilliant.
let me just say I commend Jason, is that his name?
Yep, yep.
I commend him because I feel like back in the day, because I've been now married almost 9 years, 9 years tomorrow.
Oh,
Matt should
congratulations.
listen to this podcast because he's going to forget and he
Send
doesn't listen to
flowers,
this
Matt.
podcast. So
Send flowers.
it'll be his loss tomorrow. And so it's been a bazillion years since I've been even in the dating world. But like before apps and before bullshit, like if I went to a bar and a dude offered to buy me a drink or told me I looked nice or whatever, even if I wasn't interested, I always was like, good for you, dude. It takes
Well,
balls to walk up to someone and be like, hey, I
Yes.
think you look nice. Can I
yeah.
buy you a drink? Or what is your name? Or whatever. And if I even did not care or whatever, was not interested, I would still be polite and respond to that person and whatever, because that takes courage and I
Yeah.
would respect that. And I think that that is gone nowadays. So I think what Jason did, I actually do commend because shoot your shot. I'm not saying don't shoot
Yeah.
your shot. I'm saying it's sketchy as fuck to send a bazillion DMs a day to
Yeah.
whoever will respond when they are straight up strangers, not like 100% of the girls you meet in real life you ask out, like
Yeah.
straight up strangers on the internet while your profile is private.
Yeah.
Has it ever worked? Has it ever worked? No,
Not
there's
with
no way.
not with me. Yeah. And the best is I actually used to send because I get like message requests and there's hidden message requests now and all that good
Oh,
shit. And I would just pass the phone to one of my best friends who's a guy, and I'd be like, have at it. And he would go through for me and filter and whatever. And there are a couple times, like, so many I mean, so many men, like, clearly in relationships too,
mm-hmm.
would and I'm like, "I'm sorry, dipshit. What kind of like, why do you think that I would ever respond to you right now? If I was like, even if you're just being flirty, if I was your girl and I saw you send a message like that, I would, 1, dump your ass, but 2, whip
Mm-hmm.
the shit out of you." Like,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I'm talking about language, but I just dating and online is just, like, weird to me. So and I've actually said to some people before because they seem very nice, and they're like, "Hey, will you, like, take me on a date?" And I try to keep those I don't respond one-on-one because then you never know what it'll lead into, whatever, but sometimes I've posted publicly, "Hey, to people who say this kinda thing, thank you, but I'm never going to say yes to a stranger private profile on the internet." I'm just like it's if you happen to live in Nashville and we run into each other, great. Ask me then, but this is gonna turn out in your favor.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, for a long time, I didn't date until very late in life. Like, really I didn't start, like, dating until, like, college, post-college. Like, I was very self-conscious. And I think I meant if I remember, I think I mentioned it in my blog, I can't remember,
Yep.
but my brother-in-law actually was one of the first people to call me out. I was a sophomore in college, and this actually he's the one that really started, like, me to becoming more confident and like, well, I mean, boxing eventually down the road, like all that stuff. But we're at the beach and he was just like, call me out. And he's like, Amy, what's up with you and like, your lack of confidence? He's like, you don't look boys in the eye. You like look in the grounds. Like you don't wear shorts. Like you cover your leg. I had a cosmetic cover over my leg up until that point. Like all of a sudden he was just like, what's up? Like, why is this? And I was like, "Oh," I started going down the, like, self-pity route, and also being from a small town, I was like, "These boys don't wanna grow with one leg," and, like, all this stuff, and just gave all the reasons, "Why would I wear shorts? Doesn't look good, whatever." And he, like, immediately pushed back, and there was, like, no, "Oh, I get it." He was like, "No, that's bullshit." He was like, "First of all, the boys that would say no because of that, they're a way smaller percentage than you think, and, like, they're not worth your time anyway." So, he was like, "2, like, it is, like, like, your aura first. If you think that they're being weird, it's because you're being weird." He's like, if you don't make the leg a thing, it's not a thing. Just be confident and be you." He's like, "Wear shorts." It's way more attractive when a girl just owns who she is than, like, walking around tiptoeing, waiting for this, like, white knight on a horse, which, like, sounds great in a Hollywood movie, but actually is, like, not what we want in
Mhm.
reality. Like you want to be able to be a capable human being all on your own. Let's be real. So
Yeah.
a relationship should enhance that, in my opinion. And in my opinion, not complete you. And so he was just like, "Yeah, this is you. Like you're being weird." And so he gave me like a game. He was like, "You're gonna wear shorts in public. You're gonna ask a guy out yourself." Like you and would give me small things to do that was like to go up the confidence scale. And I didn't always succeed in them, but it was such a lesson for me of, oh, because then later it still took me a couple of years to get really comfortable with it. But when I started dating more later, I was like, oh, this really is me. We don't even really talk about my leg unless it's a thing, unless the specific conversation comes up. But it's literally just how I present it. So,
Mhm.
and I don't, like you said, John, before, it's not even, you don't have to be adaptive to have those things because everyone has insecurities and those are real. I don't want to take away from that, but that's just like how you present yourself. I think we always make jokes about average guys getting hot girls and yeah, maybe like they're asking them out. And I've met guys before that I'm like, I am not attracted to you in the slightest, like physically, but I would totally go out with you and could see myself becoming attracted to you because of the way you present yourself.
Mhm.
And I think that's real.
See,
So
that's my wheelhouse because I'm funny.
Yeah.
They're like,
But
"I don't."
a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, "I'm not attracted to you, but you make me laugh, so let's do it. Let's go out." And perfect. That's exactly
Yes.
what I want.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that from your brother-in-law came from, like, a real life man too, because that I
Yeah.
feel like that kind of advice is, like, the kind of advice that your best friends would give you or your girlfriends would give you. It'd be like, "Just be you, Amy. Like, you're amazing, Amy." And you're kinda just, "Yeah, I hear you, but it's hard to internalize." So that's it's just cool. He was like, "I'm a guy. Imma tell you right now. I don't give a shit about your leg. Nobody
Yeah.
does."
Yes. That was actually that was it for me. Because of course my family always told me that growing
Of
up.
course.
Like parents, like mom, everything. But I just never believed it. It was the first time that like a male not in my bloodline was
Mhm.
like, "What's the problem? Like, just date." And he actually told me, I'll never forget, he used the an ugly duckling analogy. It's like you're like this beautiful swan, but you've been living your life like you're an ugly duckling. And it's time to put away the ugly duckling and it's time to start living like you're the swan.
Aw.
And it was just this like moment. I was like emotional. I was like, oh, is this real? Is this me? Because it made me not a victim. It like put the responsibility on me, which like sucked, but also was like, oh, if it's not on anyone else, then I can change it.
That's
And
right.
so, yeah,
Are you finding more confidence since you've been doing CrossFit?
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think obviously physical fitness can help that. I don't know why people want to shy away from that. Of course, people like to be fit and to feel confident in that way. But I think for that is a thing, but also like CrossFit is just hard in general, like no matter what you look like.
Right.
I think like doing it's also vulnerable. I didn't used to take my leg off ever. And now I like take it off in public competitions. Like it's without a second thought. And I think that repetition of what used to be the most terrifying thing for me isn't a second thought to me anymore. Which at that point, again, with dating, it's take it or leave it. This is me. Um,
Mhm.
so I think that's definitely helped a lot. Yeah.
I think if you can date other CrossFitters, it's easier. Not because you're both fit, but because they've seen you at your absolute grossest. Like
Yeah.
I often think it's okay. They've seen me blowing my nose in the middle of a workout on the floor, just like free blowing.
Oh, like skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or they've seen you wipe your face on your shirt and you're just gross. And
Yeah.
when they've seen you at your absolute nastiness, you're like, all
Mm.
right, they could probably deal with me.
Yeah.
Matt will wring out his shirt at the end of a workout, and when I tell you it looks like you turned the shower faucet on, I am
Oh,
not exaggerating. I wish that I was. And I'm still like, "I love this man."
Yeah. You're like, I think I love
Oh,
this
I
man.
love you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
yeah.
he'll leave them in the back of my car and forget them.
Oh,
Yeah, it's gnarly, and then they grow things.
yeah. That's
Mm,
That's the
that's
way it
love.
works. That is love. That's true love.
So what does this season look like for you? Like, where are you training? What is happening in the course of the next competition for you?
Yeah, all of that has actually shifted a bit this year.
Okay.
So in January, I actually joined the Proven team out of
Great.
Nashville. Yeah. So I think I'm their first adaptive athlete. So yeah, to the team. So I met them at Wadapalooza and spoke to them about joining. And yeah, it's I mean, like the coaching that I've had since the start of CrossFit has been amazing. I've learned so much. It was just I could feel myself like I was getting really comfortable and I needed to make myself uncomfortable no again to keep growing at the pace that I wanted to grow. And it wasn't anything to do with the coach itself. It was just like putting a little bit more pressure on myself, essentially,
Mhm.
you know? And so I met the Proven Crew and it's been great. I don't work out in person with them every day. Like I'll join their camp some days of the week and then go do their always their programming and their training, but on my own. And of course, the games now are a couple weeks away, like a little under 6 weeks, I think now. So yeah, looking forward to it. I think like this will be my third year at the games, and the first year, of course, was just like exciting, like terrifying. Everything was new, didn't know what was happening, whatever. The second year was actually probably harder in some ways because I was a way better athlete, but I had a very specific idea in my mind of how it would go, and it was nothing like it. And again, like they're learning, like I think adaptive programming is difficult. And there was just a lot of stuff that happened that I was like, that felt I could control, have controlled things like as an athlete in the workout, but things that felt very out of my control that were frustrating to happen. Like we'd have a long run and then my leg was sweating so much. Like I went to do a rope climb, a legless rope climb, and my leg fell off every time. So I'd lose like 10 seconds every round to put on my leg. Like things like that that were like, okay, that were frustrating. And regardless, it was I realized that I had spent so much time not enjoying the process leading up to the games because
Mm.
I had assumed the competition was going to be like worth it in every aspect. And so when it wasn't like that, it felt like, what did I just do with the last year of my life? I said no to so many things, like whatever. There were great opportunities, but I didn't enjoy the process like I wanted to because I put so much pressure on 3 days. And I was like, I will never do that again. I don't think I really realized the extent that I was doing it until afterwards. And so this year it's just been like enjoy the process, enjoy the bad days, enjoy the good days. Whatever happens at the games, like I feel stronger and better as an athlete than I ever have. So I'm excited to be able to show that, but no matter what, it's like this year has been great. Like I can enjoy and be confident in all of that that the competition is a chance to display that and whatever the results are, I know that I did everything I could. So,
Mhm. And so that's great to hear, and it sounds like you're in a better
yeah.
place, like a better headspace about it. I think we've
Yes.
been kind of seeing a lot of that lately, especially with the younger women in our sport who have decided
Mhm.
to take a step back for various reasons, oftentimes related to mental health or
Mhm.
burnout or just feeling like they're not enjoying themselves and what they're doing anymore. And when you commit so much of your your mind and your body and your like soul and your whatever to this thing that is just draining in every way. Like all of us who get up and go to work every day, and some people who hate their jobs, like it's draining in a way that makes you so miserable. Now imagine that on a physical level too.
Yeah.
I can't, I can't picture it. So I'm really glad that you found a way at it to
Yeah.
position yourself so that you're enjoying it. Cause that's,
Yeah.
you can't, it's not sustainable otherwise.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Adaptive space is hard to program for to begin with, and
Mhm.
I think they to their credit, they want it to feel and look no different than the everyday competition.
Mm.
And in reality, it really should be an opportunity to showcase representation and move people into the affiliates.
Yeah.
You're like it or not, you're a role model to everyone that comes after you that sees CrossFit that has an adaption and they're
Mhm.
going, wow, I can do this now.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of it. And so the fact that you can enjoy the competition that way is really great because
Yeah.
I hope that's how they plan to use this adaptive comp moving forward as an opportunity to showcase what's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. And I think and it's new too. Like that's what I keep telling myself and other people too. I mean, if you think about the first days of like the CrossFit games, I wasn't there for it, but I've watched some of the documentaries and things
Uh,
and there's just so much that they were learning and worked out and all of that. And I think we started and had these ideas of it's going to be the same for adaptive, but we're in our third year and it's way more complicated.
Right.
Like, everyone in my division has completely different adaptation than mine. It's just something to do from the waist down.
Yeah.
It's something lower extremity. It's the same for all the divisions. Everyone is just very different, and so figuring that out is like a huge undertaking. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch. It's fun and interesting and intriguing to watch. Nikki, when I was at Wheelwide and it was your division I was watching. Actually, you guys had a snatch event or an event that had snatches in it, and I was so intrigued to watch all the athletes that had leg impairments because their impairments were all in different spots, and so they
Mhm,
all had to snatch differently in
mhm,
order to make it
Mm.
happen. And it's so different than watching just the everyday elite athletes where they all like kind of look identical. Like Olympic lifting has been done the same way for decades. And there's a way to do it and makes to be efficient and to do it right. But, when you're missing your leg below the knee or above the knee, it becomes wildly different.
mhm.
And it's really intriguing and different to watch, and so I guess to your point, Amy, is they're gonna have to continue to develop the programming around that to
Yeah,
make it not as frustrating for the athletes like you're describing, to make it a better viewer experience, and just to make it a more fair and balanced approach to the athletes as they're competing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that will come with time and also learning. Like, you can't expect everyone to know how if you've never been around someone that's grown up with one leg, you're not there's so many little things that you don't think about. Like, I saw did you ever meet Logan Aldridge?
Oh, yeah, yeah, we love Logan.
Yeah, he's great,
He's
and
coming on soon.
He's trying, yeah, I'm trying to get him to come on.
oh, nice. Yeah, he's great. And he posted a reel a couple weeks ago that was like the most frustrating part about having one arm and doing barbell things because obviously, like everyone is seen as like clean and jerk, and just the dude is a beast. But it was him loading the weights onto the barbell and
Right.
like how he would get his like the weight off of the tree rack and then get it onto the weight. And I was like, I've known Logan for years and I never thought about that. Just how obnoxious that is. And it's those things that are, like, that actually make adaptations real. It's yeah, like, I can pistol squat all day long, like, I'm used to that, grown up with it, done it 30 years, but when the suction on my leg breaks and it just not working as it should and it, like, falls during a squat, that's a frustrating thing. But it's things like, if you don't know what it's like, why would you ever think of that? Like, the little tiny things that just happen. So, everyone's, of course, still learning. And I think there should be like a ton of grace for that. And hopefully the learning will continue and we'll just go from there.
Well, I hope those are the
Yeah.
stories we continue to see because it allows, like, those of us like, I get up some days and I'm like, "Ugh, my ankles hurt." I'm 52, my ankles hurt. And that's a legitimate complaint. I'm not trying to,
Yeah.
like, for people that have that problem like myself, I'm not trying to downplay it. I think it's important, though, to see that others are frustrated by other things, and that's
Yeah.
very normal. And that's what I have always loved about the adaptive division at Wheelwad, for instance. I distinctly remember Stouty yelling at you guys during the pre-competition briefing, and "I don't give a shit if you can't do this, go out and try it. If you can't do it, so be it, but
Yeah.
you're going to try. I'm not gonna let you just tap out and say you can't do it?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just that mindset of everybody's gotta do it. Sorry, don't care what your problem is, you gotta do it. And I think if we all think that way, it makes our journey from in CrossFit better as a community.
Yeah.
That we're just here to do hard things. That's it. And we're
Mhm.
all doing hard things, regardless of what your issues are.
Yeah. Agreed.
So, well, Amy, thank you for joining us,
Of
especially on
course.
short notice. And thank your dad for the dad joke that facilitated it. So,
I will let him know. And thank you guys for having me. Nikki, it was so great to meet you.
I know this was so fun. We'll have to do it again. I would love to hear about how your experience this year goes at games. We'll have to
Yeah.
have you back on at the end of the summer to talk about if it all went to plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Just have fun. That's the plan. So work hard, have fun. So
you can wear
uh,
your gold medal on the next time you're on, and because that's all they accept at Proven. This is Shane we're
yeah.
talking about.
Right.
I
I know.
mean, he isn't gonna give a shit what your problem is. He was making Tia do box jumps with a baby in her belly. So,
I will
you
say
know,
you wanna talk about yeah, like, adaptation, whatever. She was sumo deadlifting the other day, more than I have ever deadlifted in my life, and she's what, 7 weeks postpartum now? So, I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah, it's
sh
bananas.
she's, like, the sweetest and a beast. I mean, just yeah, that's Yeah, I definitely I'll sit there and be like, "I'm in pain," and I'm like, "Okay, just kidding." Like,
Yeah.
sorry.
We're pretty convinced she's superhuman.
Yeah, no,
Like
she's real.
she's a mutant or something, I don't know, like,
Cyborg,
yeah,
something. Yeah.
cannot quite figure it out. So,
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
alright, well, Nikki, great to see you again. I will send you more
Likewise.
yoked pictures this week, it'll be great.
Please do. I can't wait to see how protein packed you are from all the eggs you've been eating.
It's gonna be awesome. Alright, well, for everyone listening, appreciate you guys joining, and we will chat with you guys soon.
Awesome. Thank you.